Okay, so this lesson we're going to be looking at sketching. And up the top here, as you know, we can create a new sketch. So we click on sketch and then it asks us to choose a plane. So the plane we want is any of the planes, doesn't really matter. Let's go with the front plane this time. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to hide the top and the right plane just to make it a little bit easier for me. And I'm going to go and look at this plane face on. So to do that, I'm going to come over to here and I'm going to click on the front part just like so. Up here, we've got different types of options for our sketch. So we've got the line tool where I can just click once, drag the mouse, click again, drag the mouse, click again, etc. Okay, and that allows us to create a simple blue line. I can press escape to get rid of that, and I have my line like so. I could also use, say, a midpoint line. The drop down, I click once, click again, and you can see that I have now got a symmetric line from the point where I first clicked. I've also got a corner rectangle up here, so I can click once, drag out, click again, and have a rectangle. Or I might want to go for a midpoint rectangle. So I click once, let go of the mouse button, drag my mouse out, click again, and you can see that this rectangle is again from the midpoint symmetric. Well, not symmetric, but it has basically spread out from that middle section. You've then got all kinds of different types. You've got a line rectangle here, which will basically help you to draw the first line, then draw across. So if you want to get them at different angles, that's quite nice instead of having to rotate it. Over here, we've got our circle tool. So click once in the middle, drag out, click again, and we have our circle. You've also got it a 3-point circle. So you can click here, and click over here, and that will give us from this point to this point to this point. The center one is probably going to be more useful for most people. And then we've got our ellipse. So we're going to start from here, and that is going to basically drag an ellipse out. But in terms of changing the angle, changing the radius of our ellipse, we're going to basically then click once and then move it up and down, click again to change how our ellipse is orientated in terms of its width to its length. So that's kind of our circles. We've then got this arc tool. Okay, so a 3-point arc, exactly as it sounds. You click once, you click again somewhere, and then you can basically move the mouse up and down to change the radius, and then you click again to finish your arc. There's lots of different options here. I'm not going to show you all of them, but you can have a little experiment with these to see how they work. You have got this polygon, so the inscribed polygon or the circumscribed polygon. In terms of how that changes, the inscribed polygon, if I click here, you can see that the circle is on the inside, okay? And we can change how many faces our polygon has. So, points, I suppose. So say we want 9 points there, or say we wanted to have, I don't know, just 7 points or 6 points or 5 points for a pentagon like so. That's quite a useful tool if you've got, say, cut throughs that you are making. The circumscribed polygon is going to be the circle on the outside. So it's only going to basically affect your dimensions, which we'll talk about later. Spline tool, this is quite nice. It's an organic tool that you can basically just click multiple times. And as you add more points, you can see that it's basically changing how it snakes around. So the more points you add, the more control you have. You can go in and you can basically modify these points to change how angled, I suppose, the line is. So here, if I was to click up here, you can see this point here, we can move that. It's usually only for the last ones, but you can also add more by clicking on this and editing it. We'll talk more about that when we actually focus on the spline tool at another time. Again, there's a few more options there that you can use. You've got the text tool, which is quite useful. So you can click and you can type in some text. So if I type in my initials, what you'll see is, there it is, it comes up. You can drag this around by selecting a corner and moving it. Obviously, you can change the size as well if you so wish by dimensioning it. Okay, so we will talk about dimensions shortly as well. There are lots of other options here. Something that will be quite useful for you is this sketch fillet. So you can click on the sketch fillet and say one corner there, one corner there. That will allow me to have a sketch fillet. So if I click on that point, you can see I can drag this and I have a fillet, and I can then left click that, and it's going to give me my fillet. If I want to have a chamfer, I can do the same. I can click on a corner point, and it's going to give me the chamfer like so. As you can see, we have now got this chamfer here, which is basically an angle cut out. You'll notice anything that is solid has a shaded part. Okay, so this isn't solid, it's just an open line. These are solid, so they have shaded sections. Okay, and that means that that is a solid part that you could extrude or basically make 3D. These lines, you couldn't make them 3D, but you could make them a surface, which we'll talk about again later on. The trim tool is quite useful, so if I wanted to get rid of, say, one of these lines, I could just drag through. So I've clicked and dragged, and it's getting rid of the line. So I now have this right angle section here. Offset, again, quite useful. We can click on here, and it's going to give me some lines that are offset a certain distance from my part. So what we can see is I've now got an offset line that's 2.4 millimeters away from this section. Just left click to green tick it, and we can press enter, and then we have two parallel lines that are offset to each other. I won't talk about all the rest of these just yet, but what I would like you to do is have a little play with these tools. Get used to them, see how it works. Don't worry about dimensions yet. We're going to talk about that later. Just have a little experiment with the sketching tools. Once you are happy with it, you can then green tick it. If you're not happy with it, you can press X and it will get rid of everything. So if I have to press X now, it all goes. But luckily, if that was a mistake, you have got this restore tool up here, which will then bring it back. You can see that this has all gone kind of a grey colour. If we want to get back into that sketch, I can just double click on here and it will take me back into the sketch. And then I can green tick that, and we are now happy with our part. If you want to name this sketch, you can go over to here and you can click on rename. And let's say we can call this sketching tests. Press enter. We then have that known right there. And I can keep coming back into this, like so by double clicking on it. And it will allow me to access these, edit them, move them around, change dimensions, whatever you want to do, they will all be there for you. Hopefully that makes sense. Have a little play, experiment with it, test the different options, and you should get quite happy with sketching.